To open the door so that you can really see inside yourself isn't easy, but it's something you can train yourself to do. If you have the mindfulness enabling you to read yourself and understand yourself, that cuts through a lot of the issues right there. Craving will have a hard time forming. In whatever guise it arises, you'll get to read it, to know it, to extinguish it, to let it go. When you get to do these things, it doesn't mean that you get anything. For actually, once the mind is empty, that means it doesn't gain anything at all. But to put it into words for those who haven't experienced it, in what ways is emptiness empty? Does it mean that everything disappears or is annihilated? Actually, you should know that emptiness doesn't mean that the mind is annihilated. All that's annihilated is clinging and attachment. What you have to do is to see what emptiness is like as it actually appears and then not latch on to it. The nature of this emptiness is that it's deathless within you, this emptiness of self, and yet the mind can still function, know, and read itself. Just don't label it or latch on to it. That's all. There are many levels to emptiness, many types, but if it's this or that type, then it's not genuine emptiness, for it contains the intention trying to know what type of emptiness it is, what features it has. This is something you have to look into deeply if you really want to know. If it's superficial emptiness, the emptiness of the still mind, free from thought fabrications about its objects, or free from the external sense of self, that's not genuine emptiness. Genuine emptiness lies deep, not on the level of mere stillness or concentration. The emptiness of the void is something very profound. But because of the things we've studied and heard, we tend to label the emptiness of the still mind as the void, and so we label things wrongly in that emptiness. Actually, it's just ordinary stillness. We have to look more deeply in. No matter what you've encountered that you've heard about before, don't get excited. Don't label it as this or that level of attainment. Otherwise, you'll spoil everything. You reach the level where you should be able to keep your awareness steady. But once you label things, it stops right there, or else goes all out of control. This labeling is attachment in action. It's something very subtle, very refined. Whatever appears, it latches on. So you simply have to let the mind be empty without labeling it as anything. For the emptiness that lets go of preoccupations, or that is free from the influence of thought fabrications, is something that you have to look further into. Don't label it as this or that level, for to measure and compare things in this way blocks everything, and in particular, knowledge of how the mind changes. So to start out, simply watch these things. Simply be aware. If you get excited, it ruins everything. Instead of seeing things clear through, you don't. You stop there and don't go any further. For this reason, when you train the mind or contemplate the mind to the point of gaining clear realizations every now and then, regard them as simply things to observe. Once you can read your mind correctly, you can catch hold of defilements and kill them off. That's insight meditation. The mind becomes razor sharp, just as if you have a sharp knife that can cut anything clear through. Even if defilements arise again, you can dig them up again and cut them off again. It's actually a lot of fun, this job of uprooting the defilements in the mind. There's no other work nearly as much fun as getting this sense of I or self under your thumb, because you get to see all of its tricks. It's really fun. Whenever it shows its face in order to get anything, you just watch it, to see what it wants and why it wants it, to see what inflated claims it makes for itself. This way, you can cross-examine it and get to the facts. Once you know, there's nothing to do but let go, to become unentangled and free. Just think of how good that can be. This practice of ours is a way of stopping and preventing all kinds of things inside ourselves. Whenever defilements rise up to get anything, to grab hold of anything, we don't play along. We let go. Just this is enough to do away with a lot of stress and suffering, even though the defilements feel the heat. When we oppress the defilements a lot in this way, it gets them hot and feverish, you know. But remember, it's the defilements that get hot and feverish. And remember that the Buddha told us to put the heat on the defilements, because if we don't put the heat on them, they put the heat on us all the time. So we must be intent on burning the defilements away, even though they may complain that we're mistreating them. We close the door and imprison them. And since they can't go anywhere, they're sure to complain. I can't take it. I'm not free to go anywhere at all. So simply watch them. Where do they want to go? What do they want to grab hold of? Where? Watch them carefully, and they'll stop. Stop going, stop running. It's easy to say no to other things, but saying no to yourself, saying no to your defilements isn't easy at all, and yet it doesn't lie beyond your discernment or capabilities to do it. If you have the mindfulness and discernment to say no to defilement, it will stop. Don't think that you can't make it stop. You can make it stop. Simply that you've been foolish enough to give in to it so quickly that it's become second nature. So we have to stop. Once we stop, the defilements can stop too. Wherever they turn up, we can extinguish them. And when this is the case, how can we not want to practice? No matter how stubbornly they want anything, simply watch them. Get acquainted with them, and they won't stay. They'll disband. As soon as they disband, you realize exactly how deceptive they are. Before, you didn't know. As soon as they urged you to do anything, you went along with them. But once you're wise to them, they stop. They disband. Even though you don't disband them, they disband on their own. And as soon as you see their disbanding, the path opens wide before you. Everything opens wide in the heart. You can see that there's a way you can overcome defilement. You can put an end to defilement, no matter how much it arises. But you've got to remember to keep on watching out for it and keep on letting it go. Thus, I ask that you all make the effort to keep sharpening your tools at all times. Once your discernment is sharp on any point, it can let go of that point and uproot it. If you look after that state of mind and contemplate how to keep it going, you'll be able to keep your tools from growing too easily dull. And now that you know the basic principles, I ask that you make the effort to the utmost of your strength and mindfulness. May you be brave and resilient so that your practice for gaining release from all of your sufferings and stress can reap good results in every way.